So Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Donald Trump today, and I don't think anybody's really surprised about this. The question is she being principled or is she being a grifter? That is the question that people have. So let's go over first of all what happened. So Donald Trump, he's at a convention, or it's an event, a National Guard event today. He went to Arlington National Cemetery. He honored the soldiers who passed. Today, I believe, is the anniversary, the 3-year anniversary of when the 13 soldiers were killed in Afghanistan when the U.S. had that really catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan. And so today was a day where they were commemorating the soldiers who lost their lives, not only in that event, but I'm sure in other events as well. And as Trump is at this National Guard event, Tulsi Gabbard, who is a member of the military, she decides to take the stage and actually endorse Donald Trump, which was expected. But here's Trump introducing Tulsi Gabbard.
And today I'm honored to officially welcome another true American patriot, a 17-year veteran of the Hawaii Army National Guard, a 4-term Democrat congresswoman, very, very popular, the former vice chair of the National Democratic Party and a 2020 Democrat candidate for the United States presidency. She was a very good candidate. Every time she ran, she was good. She did well. She decided to leave. She couldn't take it anymore, but she is very special. And I didn't know this, but she was a lieutenant colonel. That's not bad. Lieutenant colonel. Not bad. I didn't know that. I just found out. I said, put it down. You got to put that down. That's bigger. That's better than all the other stuff I read. But no, she's a special person. She's got great common sense, great spirit. She loves our country, and she loves the people in this room. Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, please.
Okay. And then this is what Tulsi says when she endorses Donald Trump. Here it is. Well, here they're coming on stage. No fireworks, but still a nice warm reception from Donald Trump. But here she is endorsing him. Let's go ahead and make sure this plays. Here it goes.
I am proud to stand here before you today, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. If you love our country, as I do, if you cherish peace and freedom as we do, I invite you to join me in doing all that we can to save our country and elect President Donald J. Trump and send him back to the White House to do the tough work of saving our country and serving the people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Okay, so not a big surprise that she ended up endorsing him. She is, I believe, right now technically an independent. But if you remember, Tulsi Gabbard was the co-chair of she was either a co-chair or she was like the second in command at the DNC back when she was a Democrat. But she was a Democratic congresswoman from Hawaii, ran as a Democrat, served as a Democrat, ultimately ended up leaving. The reason why she left, she ultimately decided not to run again. Then she ran as president of the United States. She ran back in 2020 on the Democratic ticket. There were rumors that her challenger would have beat her in the Hawaii congressional race, and that was one of the reasons why she stepped down and decided to run for president instead. But who knows? I mean, she maybe could have won that race again, but she was highly controversial within the Democratic Party. So there was a good chance that they would have just ousted her like they've done to so many others who are controversial. She then, after leaving the Democratic Party, started to embrace more of the Republican Party. I did not think this was a bad move politically for her. She was hated by the DNC. This is the same sort of advice that I gave to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when he's on the show, which is, look, they don't like you. You're hated. I said the same thing to Dennis Kucinich, who was holding on to being a Democrat. He's now, I believe, running as an independent for Congress. And it was just, look, they don't like you. They've ostracized you. You don't really agree with a lot of their opinions. You agree probably the same amount of time with the Republicans as you do Democrats, believe it or not. So why not explore the Republican Party? And my argument to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to Dennis Kucinich, and I also even told this to Tulsi Gabbard when I was in contact with her. We don't really speak much anymore, but look, the Republican Party is showing itself to be malleable. The Democrats are hunkering down. They're doubling down. They're building a fortress around themselves. They're ensuring that they're not Democratic at all. So there's no hope for the Democratic Party. Bobby wanted to reform it. There was no hope to do that. But within the Republican Party, we saw a chink in the armor. We saw that in 2016. Everybody in the Republican establishment was absolutely shocked Donald Trump won. So there was a chink in the armor there. And Donald Trump started to change the rhetoric inside of the Republican Party. And that was those conservative, ultra conservative, age old Bush Cheney era Republicans were up in arms over it. What's happening to the Republican Party? But what I saw was an avenue where the Republican Party was starting to represent the working class, and there was a possibility to get in there and make change and change the Republican Party and actually convert it and morph it into a party for the people, for the working class, something that Democrats have really left behind. So Tulsi then goes and starts to do that, the Republicans are nice to her, so she's starting to kind of embrace them. She aligns, similar with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., aligns with Trump in a lot of different points that Bobby aligns with. I think Tulsi also aligns with. My issue with Tulsi, when she made the change to embrace the Republican Party, now we have not seen Bobby Kennedy do this yet. The night is young, so of course he still could. But the issue is that Tulsi started to embrace a lot of the talking points within the Republican Party that I don't think were really that helpful, and they weren't really for the working class. The culture war stuff. When you get into the culture war stuff, which Ron DeSantis made the same mistake, it's not a winning position. People are caring about the economy. They're caring about the endless wars. They're caring about the censorship. These are the things people are caring about. Now, she is great when it comes to censorship. She's totally anti-censorship. She advocated for the release of Julian Assange, for the pardon of Edward Snowden. So she's excellent on that front. She's excellent on criticizing the deep state, criticizing the intelligence community and the things that they do. She was, when she was running as a Democrat, many of us who were anti-war believed her to be anti-war. This is where my personal criticism comes in. She then, I don't know if Tulsi was not, I don't know if she's changed. I don't think, now that I look back, I think I accused her of changing. I don't think she actually changed. I think we weren't really fully listening is what happened. I think she wasn't elaborating on certain positions that those of us who are more anti-war, we heard something other than what she was really truly saying. And what I mean by that is she would say, I'm a dove when it comes to war, but she would also say, I'm a hawk when it comes to radical Islam and terrorism. So it was a shock to many of us when she started doubling down on we've got to go to war with pretty much all of Islam. She came back from Somalia or somewhere in Africa. She actually didn't elaborate from where. She went on Tucker Carlson's show. He wanted to talk to her. This was 3 years ago, from the time of the terrible pullout from Afghanistan. And she went on Tucker Carlson's show. He was asking her about this withdrawal. And she, rather than answering that question, went on and talked about terrorism and how we've got to fight these terrorists and we've got to fight these radical Islam. The radical Islam is waging a war against the West and we got to fight them. And she was talking about being in Africa in order to do it, which is, people in the anti-war movement are sitting there looking and saying, no, these are the excuses that keep us in endless war. And you weren't even in the West fighting these radicals. You were in Africa. What in the world are we doing in Africa fighting that battle there? With the excuse of, well, if we don't fight them there, then they're going to come here. Well, no, if we fight them there and we destabilize the Middle East and we destabilize Africa, then yes, they will come here. So it will be manifest destiny is what that will be. So she started to talk a lot about being very hawkish. As she started embracing more of the Republican Party, that stance from her became more prominent. She talked about it more and more and more, went on Fox News all the time talking about how we've got to fight these terrorists. And that was very just the opposite of being an anti-war candidate. So she seemed to change on that, but actually in looking back at her previous comments that she made from 2017, 2018, 2019, she just didn't elaborate on her true stance when it comes to fighting terrorism. The problem with that is we all know that our endless wars in the Middle East are because we're fighting terrorism. And because we keep fighting these radical terrorists, we end up in these endless wars. So you can't really be anti-war and constantly be talking about fighting these radical terrorists. On that same front, she is highly supportive of Israel. Same sort of thing, same sort of criticism we have of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. How can you be anti-war and support Israel when Israel is one of the main causes for why we're in endless war in the Middle East? They have us going over there and doing their destabilization to keep them safe, all in the name of keeping Israel safe. So you can't really be an anti-war candidate and yet still say that you're going to do everything and anything to support Israel, because we all know that that leads to endless war in the Middle East and potentially even a war with Iran, which then leads to a wider war. So that's the position that I think a lot of people have a problem with when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard and also Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The issue with Tulsi, however, is that she has switched a lot of her positions when it comes to the culture war stuff. Her stances on abortion were unclear. Now she's much more vocal about being against a lot of abortion. I'm not really sure what her cutoff date is, if at all. She's talked a lot about trans movement, women, a lot of things that many of us might agree with, but they were opposite of stances she had taken before. So it's one thing to go on the record when you're running as a Democrat and say certain things like, I apologize for my stance on LGBT rights. And then suddenly now you're taking a real conservative stance on Fox News. Same sort of thing when it comes to women's pro-choice and saying that you're pro-choice up to a certain point, and now going on Fox News and saying, this is infanticide. So she's done a lot of flip-flopping that have made people think, I don't know if Tulsi Gabbard is legitimate, if she is being honest and truthful, or if she's just a political grifter and a careerist. But I'm going to say, I think she's being more genuine now. I think that actually, when she was running as a Democrat, when she was a Democratic Congresswoman, I think that is maybe when she was maybe a bit more opportunistic. We could break that down a little bit more, because I know I'm pissing off some of you who are watching saying that's not what those of you who love Tulsi Gabbard and support Tulsi Gabbard. She was young when she ran for Congress. I'll give her that. She grew up in a conservative home. She had conservative viewpoints. When she ran as a Democrat, she ultimately had to apologize for those conservative viewpoints. Now she's running as a conservative, essentially, and she's having to apologize for her liberal viewpoint. So there's a lot of flip-flopping there that it's inconsistent. People don't like it, and they're going to think that you're a grifter. I think, though, she grew up in a conservative home. She was a young adult running for Congress. She was one of the youngest members, if not at the time, I think she was the youngest member of Congress. She was young. Young people, when they leave their family home, they tend to go a little bit more liberal. That's pretty common. They have liberal viewpoints. And then ultimately, as they age, they start to revert back to the values that they were taught when they were young, the values that they were the same values as their family. They start to kind of default into that. So there's a bit of a rebellion period that young people go through. Maybe Tulsi was just sort of going through that rebellion period. And maybe during those times, she really truly thought she was more liberal. And she ran as a Democrat, won as a Democrat. Then she got in there, and as she started to get older, she started to think, I don't know if I really agree with all of this stuff. And also the Democratic Party, of course, changed. So now she's being embraced by the conservative camp. And I don't know if this is political grifting. I don't think it is. I actually think this is her being more genuine to who she is. The problem is a lot of us no longer agree with some of her genuine positions. If she's genuinely in support of Israel, genuinely in support of we've got to fight all of radical Islam, even in Africa and throughout the Middle East, and we got to massacre all the Palestinians because they're all radical Islamic terrorists. I mean, these are positions that many of us no longer agree with, and that is why she's lost a lot of support from people that she used to have support from in the more leftist anti-war camp. So I'm going to say, I think her endorsing Donald Trump is not to be, this is really expected. We saw, for example, that she was helping Donald Trump with debate prep. There's also that she was looking to potentially be his VP, his running mate. She said she would be honored to be his running mate. So it was just a really natural progression for her to then just officially come out and endorse Donald Trump. And doing it today at a National Guard event, I think made a lot of sense. So love to hear from you. Love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, kim@kimiverson.com. Do you think she's being genuine? Do you think this is a grifter move? Do you think she has a political future within the Republican Party? Look, Republicans are always going to point to her Democratic record. They're going to point to all of the things she said about guns, abortion, LGBT. They're going to point to all of those culture war issues that she has flip-flopped on or morphed her stance on. They're going to point to that, and they're going to say, oh no, she's not somebody that can be trusted. But maybe if she, holds on and adopts more of or maintains, I would say, these Republican values. So as long as it's not just a way to serve a political career, then I think people probably will forgive some of the statements that she's made in the past. But I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Kim at KimIverson.com. Today's video is sponsored by Aura, and it's a really important time to be talking about them because hackers may have stolen the social security numbers of every American. Yeah, over 2.9 billion records were stolen from the National Public Data, which offers personal information to employers and private investigators and staffing agencies and others who do background checks. Well, these stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number and phone number, even alternate names and your birthday. And members of the hacker group have reportedly released this information for free online. So I don't know if you've ever had your data breached and used before, but I have. Several years ago, someone started using my social security number for work, and the government actually came after me for taxes on jobs I didn't do. So big issue here. If you weren't taking precautions with your personal information online, this should really be a huge wake-up call for you. You've never been more vulnerable online than you are right now. Now, Aura alerts me if they find my phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. They're going to let me know fast if anyone tries to use this information to access my credit card or bank accounts. They give me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst case scenario happen. They also provide a bunch of other features to keep you safe online, all inside one app. So you can go to my link, aura.com/Kim Iverson, to try for 14 days for free. That's definitely enough time for Aura to find any of your personal information. And if your data's been exposed from one of these data breaches, I highly recommend you do this. I started doing the process. They found 17 leaks that I had to go through one by one and actually look at and say, all right, I got to go to this website, change my password, never use that password again. So really important to do right now, because not only is the National Public Data not going to help with anything, they're not going to even face any repercussions for this leak. But, look, I'm not leaving myself or my family vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, then you can go to aura.com/Kim Iverson to try 2 weeks for free. Check it out, guys. Hey guys, this was just a clip of a longer show. Catch the full show by going to KimIversonShow.com. It is free. It airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. You could go back now and watch this full interview. I highly recommend it. Again, go to KimIversonShow.com. Thank you so much for watching.